Huawei's chief financial officer has been granted bail. A Canadian judge will allow Meng Wanzhou's release with a $10 million recognizance. CGTN's Hendrik Sybrandy joins us now from outside that courthouse in Vancouver. Hendrik, walk us through the court's decision.
Well, Mike, it took 3 days, but the judge in this case finally did reach a decision here this afternoon. Lots of competing arguments back and forth. All of this, of course, at least the court portion began on Friday, carried over to yesterday, and then once again to today, where lawyers were arguing why she should receive bail or why she should not be a candidate for bail in this particular case. But in the end, Judge William Erkey said, "I'm satisfied that under the facts of the case, that the risk of Meng Wanzhou's non-attendance in court can be reduced to an acceptable level." Basically, her defense lawyers laid out an elaborate plan over the last several days that would ensure that she would stay in the Vancouver area, that she would be confined to her home, and they stipulated exactly how they plan to do that. She has contracted, her family's contracted with a security service, in fact, several security services here in the Vancouver area. She'd be wearing an ankle bracelet. She would have a security team with her 24 hours a day. She would be confined to her home in Vancouver, particularly in the overnight hours, and that when she ventured out during the day, she was only allowed to stay in the immediate Vancouver area. There would be security personnel with her at all times that would be monitored by a GPS to ensure that folks knew exactly where they were traveling, what they were doing. So that aspect has already been arranged, and the judge agreed to that in the end. He also agreed and set out the financial conditions for her bail, that basically she would be putting up $10 million, including $7 million in cash. Then another 5 friends of hers would be acting as sureties in this case, in other words, guarantors that she would not leave the area. They've also put up another $3 million in cash to guarantee that she stays put in this area. So all told, all of those things together, the judge felt satisfied that she was not a risk of flight. He said she was an upstanding businesswoman, that he found it unlikely that given all of these restraints on her movements out of the area, that it was extremely unlikely that she would be leaving. And that's what he said here just a short while ago, and she'll be released from custody now.
So, Hendrik, what happens next?
Well, she'll be released from a women's correctional center here. We expect that to happen later today. Then, presumably, she will go to her home, one of her 2 homes here in Vancouver. And then, of course, the next step in the process is the extradition process. The U.S. has to file for extradition within 60 days of her arrest. That arrest, of course, happened a week ago Saturday at Vancouver International Airport. So it's up to the U.S. now to provide a more complete record of what they plan to charge her with, the grounds for extradition. She has indicated, her lawyers have, that she plans to vigorously contest the extradition. And if she's extradited to the U.S., ultimately she plans to fight the charges against her vigorously in U.S. court if it comes to that.
Well, we'll be watching it all. Hendrik Sybrandy live for us there in Vancouver.